So bicep exercise tier list, I will waste none of your time. Very simply put, in the F tier, starting off, we have any movement that is arbitrary. So for me, at least, that's 21s. That's doing some kind of a movement with a dumbbell where you go, oh yeah, I do 7 reps here, and then I do 7 reps up here, and then 7 reps up here. Pointless, stop doing it. Any excessively unstable movement, stop doing it. So if you're lying on a Bosu ball, doing some deep stretch, curl, whatever, and it's like, oh, I'm getting this crazy stretch at the bottom, but you're only doing 5 pounds, that's not getting stronger over time. That's not really progressively overloading because you're not loading anywhere near your actual working capacity for the muscle. So for me, at least, if I'm doing any kind of bicep work, I want it to be something very stable, that I can load heavy, that is working with a relatively normal full range of motion, because the biceps actually have leverage near the bottom or the stretch position. So the biceps are going to be working very, very hard here, but then once you get to around 90 degrees, this is where you are strongest. So this is more like that kind of mid position where all the elbow flexors are kind of firing on all cylinders. You're getting some brachioradialis in there. So when you're at around that 90-degree mark, you are going to be very, very strong. And then when you're up here, you're getting a little bit more brachioradialis, some more short position kind of forearm stuff. So it does very much make sense to just work with a full range of motion for biceps. So in the F tier is going to be any exercise like 21s. It's like goofy, where it's not stable and you're not able to push it hard with a good amount of weight. Now the D tier is also going to be some kind of static hold or movements that might be good for tendon rehab, but not necessarily for hypertrophy, but still do have a certain point in our programs. So some people do static holds for the purpose of getting blood flow to the connective tissue and things like that, which is valid. And another valid thing to think about is that when we think about rehabbing our tendons, is going a little slower on the concentric by choice, to where we're actually going slower here just because we want to rehab our tendons, is a valid reason to do that. So that has been shown in research to be probably the best way to rehab, is just going a little slower with heavy loads, but going intentionally a little slower on the concentric or the actual rep, and then controlling the way down too, obviously. So that's a valid use. Any kind of like therapeutic, like valid reason, maybe some band work, if you've had some joint issues and whatnot, any kind of like valid reason why you might do some kind of like rehab work or whatever, that puts it in the D tier, because at least you're getting something out of it. Obviously it's not gonna be great for growth or whatever, but it's a hell of a lot better than like 21s and a bunch of other like stupid stuff. So that's gonna be in the D tier. And in the C tier, we're gonna have some kind of machine preacher curl that has an ascending resistance profile. So essentially, with any preacher curl you do, it is going to be harder at some point during the movement. Now, for the biceps, for actually training the biceps, you want it to be harder near the bottom, because that again is where the biceps are actually producing the force and not the other elbow flexors. Some of these machines, this Nautilus one's not really a big culprit. This one's pretty good, but there are some machines where you'll curl up and it starts easy and then it gets really, really hard. And it's like, oh my God, no matter what I do, I cannot actually get this squeeze, this shortening. I'm not able to do it. Why? Because the machine got so freaking hard. The hammer strength one is a good example of one of these culprits, where you sit on the hammer strength machine and like you almost kind of have to configure it where you're doing lengthened partials, because that's really the only way that you can effectively take the biceps to failure. Because when you're doing the hammer strength preacher curl and it starts like easy, and then for whatever reason it just gets brutal in this half of the movement, you're missing out on just doing the full range of motion. So the sort of way around that, like a lot of other hammer strength things, is to just work more in that lower range. Maybe you cheat up the top a little bit to where you're starting and you're keeping it strict, and then when you get near the top, you cheat it up. That's not my favorite thing to do, but with hammer strength, there's certain other brands you might have to. So this preacher curl from Nautilus here, I'll do 1 rep just to show you. What I really like about this is that it feels pretty even. I feel like it's a little tougher near the mid position, but you see me coming up, it's pretty tough, and it stays pretty tough the whole time. So this is one that I would say is a pretty good option. This would put it higher up on the list. And the A tier is going to be some kind of standing dumbbell or standing cable curl, where you're able to actually really get comfortable. It's a good cable, or you have a wall support. Your pretty much main goal with any A tier bicep exercise is to keep things as stable as possible. So, if you have a way of like supporting your back when doing these curls, that's gonna be a nice idea if you have some kind of way of doing that with cables. Obviously, if your cable's really old and really janky, that's not gonna be a good option either. So just something where you have a fresh, good cable, you have a dumbbell and you're using a wall, you have a barbell, you're using a wall. Any stabilized mid-position curl is gonna be basically in the A tier, because it's gonna be with a cable pretty tough here, with a dumbbell pretty tough here. This is where where the biceps and the whole arm are pretty strong. It's gonna get a good amount of tension in that length and range where the biceps are working very strongly. So a good little trick with the cable curls is if you actually turn around and you actually stand against the wall pad here, or the whatever, the metal, you can come out, step out a little bit, and then this kind of curl, if you can do it without giving yourself a, cable wedgie here, if you can do it without doing that, you'll pretty much work the length and range because of the arc of the cable. So this will be very similar to a dumbbell preacher. So just something to think about when doing your setup. I realize this video did not have a B tier, so we're just gonna put this in A tier as well. What we have is a good machine preacher curl. So some kind of machine preacher, like I was saying earlier, where it's not a ridiculous ascending resistance profile, but a machine preacher where you're able to actually perform the rep, and it is going to get harder near the bottom, so that the bottom of the rep portion is going to be pretty tough. That's gonna be very valuable for you. Another thing you could throw in as like a little bonus is doing some hammer preacher curl. This is something I love, have clients do all the time, but doing some kind of hammer preacher curl with a neutral grip, especially on a machine where you're really emphasizing that shortened range, where you're really working on that squeeze here, because that's where the brachioradialis has leverage to produce force. So something to think about, doing neutral grip preacher curl where you really actually focus on the contraction is going to be valuable for forearm growth and brachioradialis growth as well. So a lot of things to think about. And in the S tier for biceps, we have the dumbbell bicep preacher curl, which is at this point in time, based on our research, pretty much the best option we have for biceps for a few different reasons. The main one being stability. So we can actually use the pad, we can configure ourselves. The dumbbells can be very comfortable on our joints because we can line it up exactly how we want. Now, mind you, if you're getting like really deep stretches at the bottom, if you hyperextend like myself, if I come all the way here and I'm in this extension, I'm really just putting a lot of load on the tendon. So something to be mindful and something to think about. But when we're doing these dumbbell preacher curls, the reason why they work so well is because the bicep has leverage. The bicep is responsible for producing force in this length and range in this stretch. So when you're here, this portion of the movement, the bicep is going to be working more than the brachioradialis, the wrist flexors, the brachialis, all these other parts of the arm that are responsible for flexing the elbow, flexing the wrist. All these other parts of the arm are not going to be really working in this movement. The thing that's going to be working is the biceps when you're near this stretch. So again, when I do it, you guys will notice I'm shortchanging it a little bit because of my tendon issue here, where I have to be a little careful to not give myself some pretty mean golfer's elbow. But if you guys have good tendons and you're comfy and you don't hyperextend and you're not hypermobile there at the elbow, then definitely this is one of those scenarios where getting a deep stretch at the bottom is not a bad idea. So once again, we're gonna hop in here. Got the 40 pounds. I think I did this last time for 5, I believe. So somewhere around there. We'll get around 5 reps here and we'll see how we do. So again, just trying to be comfy and not wreck my tendons. Here we go. Take our time, let's go. Okay, come up. Okay. Okay. Oh, and that was it. Okay, so we got that for 5. Felt really nice, and that puts this in the S tier.